was just fantastic. It was just going like a train. It was handling beautifully. It was in its element. They were the conditions for that boat because it's bulletproof.
Kingara is a 13-metre-long, single-masted wooden yacht. She was built in 1972, but what she lacks in high technology, she makes up for in experience. Kingara has 13 Sydney to Hobart races under her sail. She even survived the notorious 1993 race. Back at the Bureau of Meteorology in Sydney, forecaster Ken Batt is anxiously poring over computer weather models.
When we saw the model output, we basically said amongst ourselves that there will be a massacre.
At 3:53 p.m, nearly 3 hours into the race, Ken sends out a second, more severe high seas weather warning. It cautions that the low-pressure system is deepening. In 24 hours, the sea will go from rough to very rough, making waves up to 6 meters in height. The forecast is sent down the wire to the yachts, but it still doesn't deter the sailors. American yachtsman John Campbell expects the race to be tough.
We weren't terribly concerned about our safety at that point. It was more, here we go again, this is another tough year, but it didn't necessarily put us off.
Again, the yachtsmen fail to realize the importance of the warning. Not one boat abandons the competition.
Well, I felt quite sick because friends, acquaintances were sailing south into this.
Ken has good reason to worry. The storm is deepening over the most dangerous stretch of water on the race route, the Bass Strait. Locals refer to it as the Black Hole. The current in the Bass Strait flows west to east. As the current driving the fleet down the coast of Australia enters the strait, the two forces clash. The result is rough water. The strait is just 50 meters deep, and the shallow ocean makes the choppy waters even more turbulent. But the weather has another deadly card to play. The polar jet streams entering the system from the south push the low pressure east. This causes the northeasterly winds to change direction and rotate a full 180 degrees to a southwesterly. The wind now moves in the opposite direction to the prevailing ocean current. It's a lethal combination. Steep-sided waves, 6 meters high, can materialize out of nowhere.
The wind, the waves, the currents came together and produced, for want of a better term, the perfect storm.
By midnight, Stand Aside is approaching the Bass Strait. An electric storm lights the night sky, and the 12-man crew encounter the first signs of trouble brewing.
To have fork lightning in front, behind, left and right of you, it was just fantastic scenery. But when you've got 68 foot of aluminium being held up by steel rigging, it's a bit unnerving.
24 kilometers behind Stand Aside, Kingara is cutting through steep-sided 3-meter-high waves. But the yacht and her seasoned crew take it in their stride.
By the time I came up on watch at midnight, we were really getting into the first part of the serious weather. Other than being cold and wet, we made it through really without too much difficulty that first night.
The next morning, ABC helicopter pilot Gary Ticehurst takes off from Merimbula and heads out to film the race leaders. He's heard the weather reports and knows the conditions will make spectacular footage. Within 25 minutes, He's filming race leaders Sayonara and Brindabella fighting 15-meter waves in storm force winds. He captures ocean racing at its most extreme.
We just basically felt, well, this is a challenge for the yacht, but it'll be good vision for us.
Sayonara just sliding away, making great speed, way above the average needed to set a course record in this 630-mile dash to Hobart.
Ticehurst struggles at the controls as gusting winds buffet the chopper. He can feel the weather is taking a turn for the worse.
And that's when it all started to go wrong.
At 2 p.m, the first distress call. The yacht, called the Sword of Orion, is in trouble in the Bass Strait.
This is Sword of Orion.
She's battling wind gusts of 144 kilometers per hour.
We are experiencing 78 knots.
On the Beaufort scale, it's a hurricane. The larger yachts, like Sayonara, start vaulting off the tops of the waves. 20 smaller yachts hear Sword of Orion's warning. They abandon the race and head for shelter on the Australian mainland. But there are still nearly 1,000 men and women and 95 vessels, approximately 60 kilometers from land, fighting the elements. What started as a race for glory is on the verge of becoming a catastrophe. By the second day of the Sydney-Hobart yacht race, most of the fleet still have to enter the black hole. On board Stand Aside, the gung-ho spirit is starting to dampen.
You couldn't look into the oncoming wind because it was blowing the water off the waves, and it was like darts hitting you in the face.
The sailors now face a dilemma. They can tough it out and keep going, or turn around and abandon the race. But turning back means sailing into high-speed, gusting winds, even shallower waters and steeper waves. For the crew of Stand Aside, the decision is simple.
I wanted to keep on going. It would be a thrilling thing to get your name on the podium of the Sydney to Hobart.
But their yacht is struggling in the raging storm. They sail parallel to waves of up to 18 meters in height. It's called sailing beam on and makes for a smoother ride, but Stand Aside is vulnerable. If a large breaker were to hit her, she would capsize. It's a sailor's greatest fear, known as a knockdown. The crew know they are sailing on a knife edge. They fight to keep control and battle on. "24 kilometers north of Stand Aside, the older, heavier yacht Kingara is coping better. She sails directly into the waves, and because she is lower in the water, she cuts through them. But with waves of up to 3 stories high, it's a bumpy ride for the 10 crewmen on board. 2:15 p.m. The race is in its 25th hour. The majority of the fleet are nearing the mouth of the Bass Strait. Wind speed is increased to 80 knots, 148 kilometers per hour. The ocean is a raging maelstrom. Stand Aside continues to sail beam on and carries one small sail, a storm jib. The crew hunker down and hold on. A huge breaking wall of water, 28 meters high, slams into the side of the hull. The mast immediately snaps. The yacht capsizes under the weight of water. This is the knockdown they